Welcome to Outside Views. Today we're exploring a critical development that highlights the ongoing challenges and consequences of Brexit. The introduction of the General Product Safety Regulation, or GPSR, and its impact on small British businesses. The GPSR, effective from December 13th, has been described by many as a tipping point for UK enterprises, particularly sole traders and small businesses struggling to navigate the already treacherous post-Brexit trade landscape. This new regulation doesn't just affect business operations, it exposes deep flaws in the UK's current approach to its relationship with the European Union. To fully understand this issue, we must first look back at the promises and realities of Brexit. In 2016, the Leave campaign touted visions of a sovereign Britain, free to chart its own course in a globalized world. Supporters claimed Brexit would allow the UK to remove unnecessary bureaucracy, foster innovation, and expand its global trade reach. But for many small businesses, the backbone of the UK economy, Brexit has delivered the opposite. SMEs, or small and medium-sized enterprises, account for approximately 60% of the UK's workforce and contribute significantly to its GDP. And these businesses are often described as the lifeblood of the British economy, driving innovation, creating jobs and fostering local communities. Yet since Brexit, SMEs have faced a host of new challenges, from increased paperwork and tariffs to supply chain disruptions and labor shortages. The introduction of the GPSR adds yet another layer of complexity to an already difficult situation. The regulation, designed to enhance consumer protection in the EU, requires businesses based outside the bloc to appoint a responsible economic operator within the EU to oversee compliance. This operator is tasked with ensuring that products meet EU safety standards and can be recalled if necessary. While this requirement may seem reasonable on the surface, its implications for small British businesses are profound. Large multinational corporations have the resources to adapt to these new rules. They can afford to maintain staff or partnerships within the EU to handle compliance, and their global reach allows them to absorb additional costs. But for sole traders and SMEs, the story is very different. Many of these businesses operate on tight margins with little room to maneuver. Hiring a representative in the EU, navigating the associated bureaucracy, and covering the costs of compliance often make exporting to the EU financially unviable. And this has led to a devastating reality. Many small British businesses are being forced to abandon the EU market entirely. The GPSR has effectively closed the door on opportunities that were once seamless under the single market. And the challenges don't end at the EU border. Due to the Northern Ireland Protocol, the same regulations apply to goods exported from Great Britain to Northern Ireland. And this is because the alternative, introducing border checks along the 500-kilometer land border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, would violate the Good Friday Agreement and risk destabilizing a hard-won peace. As a result, many British businesses are now choosing to stop exporting to Northern Ireland, creating a de facto trade barrier within the UK itself. And this situation underscores one of Brexit's most glaring contradictions. While the Leave campaign promised greater unity and control, the reality has been increased fragmentation and complexity. The Northern Ireland Protocol, while necessary to avoid a hard border on the island of Ireland, has left unionists feeling betrayed and businesses caught in a web of conflicting regulations. For small business owners, the personal toll is immense. These are entrepreneurs who have spent years building relationships with consumers in the EU and in Northern Ireland. And they've invested time, energy, and resources into growing their businesses, only to find themselves shut out of key markets. Some are scaling back operations, while others are closing their doors altogether. For them, the GPSR is not just a regulation, it's the breaking point in a long and exhausting struggle. Tom Brufato, the Director of Policy at Best for Britain, has described the GPSR as a tipping point for thousands of small businesses. He warns that the regulation will reduce consumer choice, increase costs, stifle growth, and threaten jobs. And these are not abstract concerns. They are the lived experiences of countless business owners and workers across the UK. The broader implications of this crisis are also deeply troubling. The UK Trade and Business Commission has identified over 100 recommendations to remove barriers to trade with the EU, including regulatory alignment in areas where it would be mutually beneficial. However, the UK government has been reluctant to pursue closer alignment, fearing it would undermine the narratives of sovereignty that drove the Brexit campaign. And this refusal to align with the EU has left the UK increasingly isolated. While other countries benefit from seamless trade and collaboration with the single market, the UK is grappling with higher costs, reduced competitiveness, and diminished global influence. And the introduction of the GPSR also raises questions about the long-term viability of the UK's economic model. Brexit was supposed to unleash Britain's potential as a global trading powerhouse, but instead it has created barriers, added costs, and eroded trust. For those of us who believe Brexit was a mistake, the GPSR is yet another reminder of how far-reaching its consequences are. And this isn't just about trade regulations or economic statistics. It's about real people, business owners, workers, and consumers who are bearing the brunt of decisions made without their best interests in mind. So, what can be done now? Should the UK government reconsider its stance on regulatory alignment and seek a more cooperative relationship with the EU? Or will it continue to prioritize ideology over practicality, leaving businesses and consumers to shoulder the burden? Well, the clock is ticking, and for many small businesses, the decisions made in the coming months will determine whether they survive or succumb to the pressures of the post-Brexit landscape. This is a moment of reckoning, not just for British businesses, but for the vision of Brexit itself. So thank you for joining me today on Outside Views again, and if you found this discussion insightful, let me know your thoughts in the comments below the video. Do you believe the UK should align more closely with the EU to ease these trade barriers, or is there another way forward? And if you haven't already, check out my earlier videos on Brexit's impact for more in-depth analysis. I'll see you next time with more stories that matter. Until then, take care, and the next video is right here in the end screen.